You guys, I've discovered Halloween candy and now I can't. Oh my God, my knuckles are so ashy. Oh my God. I've discovered Halloween candy and I can't stop. So if you hear me crunching in the back, mind your business. Today, I am joined by my sorority sister, Natalie. Natalie, how the heck are ya?
I'm good. I live in your state now. It's so crazy.
Is that not crazy? Like, first of all, do you like it so far? Like, what do you think so far?
So I moved in July, which is like the worst time. The 117 for like multiple days in a row truly like messed with my brain. And I'm having a hard time because, like growing up on the Pacific Northwest, like seasons change your mood. It changes where I'm at in my work, like shifts my focus. And it's just sunny all the time. So I'm like, my seasonal depression hasn't hit yet. So I'm a little bit confused on that. And my work is not the same because I'm in a school district. It's just, it's different.
It's different. Mm-hmm. It is different. Something about the seasonal depression. So I will say the depression still comes. It's just hot. So you just cry and it's hot.
Oh my God, I'm just crying and sweating.
Right. You're like, are these tears? Is it sweat? Like,
I think it's a mix of both.
But you like it so far?
I do. I think I just was having such a hard time in the beginning of the summer. And like, not for nothing, trying to make friends at 30 years old is so
so hard. It's hard.
I have a hard time being like, yeah, let me go out to happy hour and let me like make small talk with people that I don't know, because I feel like that was my entire like college experience and I just don't want to do it anymore. I don't like, respectfully, I don't want to do it. I just have a lot of Real Housewives that I need to watch right now, and I don't want to. Listen, Destiny, I'm out here trying. Okay, this is so. I am like moving in my early 30s. People are already established. Like my best friend's having a baby. And so they're like truly settling down. And so you're either like making friends with like super young people who are lit in a different era in their own life where they can drink excessively and like live the next day. And I can't do that anymore. Or like you're making friends with people who have children and are married and like have this established life together. And so it's kind of hard to like, I'm truly in the middle of like, do I go to music festivals still? I don't think I want to. Or do I like go to mommy and me classes because I don't have any friends. So maybe I can just like pretend. I don't know. It's so hard. It's really hard.
It is hard. You're right. And I will say, since moving here, I have met a lot of people, I think, to exactly like you said, either the people that I have hung out with are super young or like mommy. And I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, trust me, I will try and hang. Like I will rip the tequila shots. I will throw it all the way back to college. I will do it, but I will just have like a coma for 6 days and not be able to function and be really sad and like truly not get out of bed. And I cannot live my life that way because I have adult responsibilities.
No. We can't. I know. I mean, I told you I interviewed Maddie, my sorority episode where we talked about everything, but just flashing back to like college and the sorority and like how we used to drink Monday through Friday. I saw a TikTok about a Four Loko and like she was like trying it for the first time and I was like, oh, the Four Loko, like the whole era, just drinking and being able to get up the next day like nothing, and then that night we're drinking again and like it's nothing. Makeup, hair done, like looking good.
Yeah, casually ripping 2 sidewalk slammers is not a normal amount of consumption of alcohol, and people should not do that.
Yeah.
People shouldn't do that. Yet, here I am, still standing.
And I have a lot of memories of you specifically.
It's digging. Horrible.
I was digging through some photos, and there's a lot of photos of you and I hugging, drunk at, what was the live out? Slam House.
Yeah.
Yep.
My humble abode.
Your humble abode. That's right. You did. That was you. Yeah. And I'm like, what is going on? Like I'll never forget you in Slam House. When I think of Slam House, I think of you. So.
Oh, thank you.
Memory lane.
I know. Memory lane. I'm obsessed with all of it. But yeah. So.
But since then, okay, I have this vivid memory. I was like, when's the last time I saw Natalie? And remember when I had that like photography phase?
Oh my God. I was scrolling through your Facebook and you took I think we did like Christmas photos or something like that because we had just gotten Opie. I think Opie was like a year old or something like that. And we wanted to do Christmas cards that year. And oh my God, I looked at one of them and I was like, oh my God, that was so long ago. That must have been like 2018.
Yeah. It was a long time ago. I know.
What a haul. Yes, vivid memories of taking photos of me, my ex-husband.
Yep. So I'm just gonna tell it from how I saw it.
Yes.
Let's start there.
Yeah.
So I remember I remember you were in a relationship for what felt like a very long time.
Forever.
Forever. Right. Which is like, we love that. We love all through college, like whatever. So when the engagement and the things happen, I'm like, oh, of course, that's like, of course. But then it like, the wedding, and I was like, of course. And it seemed like in the blink of an eye, it was gone. Like the photos, everything. That I was like, and like, obviously we know, like, when people remove photos of people or like, like something's going on, right? You're like, oh, maybe they like whatever. But like that quickly, I'm like, yeah, it was quick.
Super. And it's so funny because my closest friends and I, someone will remove a photo of their boyfriend or husband and we're on it. We're like, did you see? And so as soon as I knew I did that, I was like, I am fully giving everyone free range to think whatever they want because it is literally me all the time. Like I am that human. So I have no qualms on group text lighting on fire when they like randomly went away because we were together for so long since 2012 I think is when we started dating.
Wow.
Yeah, 2012 until 2021 we were together. So it was a super, super long relationship. And it happened very quickly, but I think a lot of what happened also happened very quickly. So like we obviously were like in this kind of toxic cycle that you just continue to live in because you're so comfortable with it. And like kind of going back to college, like we started dating in like a very tumultuous time, like in anyone's life, like 20 years old, you're like trying to figure out who you are, trying to figure out like what you want to do in your life, like what kind of roles that you want to take on professionally, personally, in friendships with your family. So it's just like kind of was a chaotic time. And we lived, everyone in Pullman knows we lived a very chaotic life. Like we did whatever we want. We partied a lot. We had a lot of fun. And like, honestly, in my early 20s, like that continued with the certain group of friends that I was with. Like we didn't really slow down much, but like as we got older, like I definitely slowed down. The friend group definitely slowed down, but like I still felt like our relationship was in that chaos all the time. And there's something to be said to be like addicted to the chaos because it's the only thing that I knew. And that it, like as weird as it sounds, is like I was so comfortable in the chaos. Like if it wasn't chaotic, I was kind of like, what's going on? I don't understand. So I think hitting the marriage, like getting married, and then everything that came after it, there's a lot of thoughts of like, okay, once you get married, there's like this happens and then this happens and then this happens. And nothing was happening like that to me. And I kind of was like, hold on. I'm still feeling this way. I'm still feeling chaotic. I'm still feeling like anxiety ridden. Like there was a mass exodus from people away from me. Like I lost a bunch of friends. I was pretty distant with my family, and I just like had this like very small knit group of people that were like, hey, you got to look inward. Like something's going on. Like your anxiety is like literally killing you. You're losing so much weight. You dropped an incredible amount of weight. Like you're in like this constant spiral of anxiety. Like do some digging. And I had a really, really, really amazing therapist who never pushed me one way or the other. I always remember her just asking me questions and me just kind of like coming to answers on my own. So when I finally was like, hey, I think it's time for me to like leave or make the exit away from this. She was like, great, tell me your plan. How would you like to execute this? And it was never like, oh my God, thank God. Like, I've been waiting for, it was more of just like, okay, cool. Tell me how I can help you. Like, tell me what your thoughts are. And I just remember being so thankful for her, because your friends are your friends. Right. They're going to tell you and they're going to go along with whatever you want because they love you and they're like, we'll support you no matter what. But I just remember her being a very consistent person of saying, remember when you said this, remember this feeling, remember what your goals in life are. Do you feel like you're being able to achieve those goals? And I always had to do like intensive reflection with her, which made me like hate her right before the wedding. Because I was like, stop making me reflect. This is supposed to be the happiest time of my life. It's like the crazy brides that are like, this is the happiest time of my life, when it's like, ma'am, you're miserable. Like, everyone can read it on you. You're like having the worst time. You're taking it out on everybody and you are just alone. And it's like scary AF.
Were you, I mean, it sounds like leading up to the wedding, like you were going into your therapy and stuff, which is super helpful and great. But like, did you still feel uneasy going like on wedding day? Like, I feel like that's my biggest nightmare, is waking up being like,
like I really didn't feel any type of way any other. Like, I really felt the same way that I've been feeling. Like in March of 2020, I had like a crazy panic attack that lasted literally 3 months. So I was living in constant, like, I had tremors in my hands. I couldn't eat anything. I was so exhausted all the time that I would like half sleep. So I wasn't sleeping very much. I was just like in a constant panic attack. I have like panic disorder. Like, I was just constantly living in that. And so that's when I ended up getting a therapist, because I was like, something is literally wrong.
Well, good for you. Yeah,
yes.
Good for you.
But I will say about my ex-husband was truly amazing during that time. Like, very supportive, was very open to conversation. Like, I probably kept him up multiple nights in a row with like panic, tremors. There was so many things that were going on. And then I like dropped 15 pounds within, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks. And then it was truly, my mom is a very loving person. Love her dearly, but she's a mom. And when she told me, hey, you're looking a little ill, I was like, oh, I must look really ill, because Lord knows every mother would like their daughter to be
thin
AF.
And you're tall. You're like really
super tall.
Yeah.
And so I was like, and everyone around me at first was like, oh my God, like, what are you doing? You look so great. And then all of a sudden everyone's like, hey, your eyes are sinking into your face. You are like constantly shaking. My personality felt like it was completely gone. Like, I'm normally a very lively laugh. I'm loud. I have a lot to say. But I literally was like dead quiet. It was really, really bad. So I started like really digging into why I was feeling that way and what was going on. And I felt like by the time that it was like 6 months out, I had felt like a lot of resolve in everything that was happening. I felt like, okay, like this is just, I had anxiety for a long time, but this one, I don't know what happened to me, but it just kind of imploded on me. So I had like a lot of resolve in it. So going into the wedding day, I like felt totally fine. Like, I was going to do it no matter, like, I will say this to anybody, I was going to do it no matter what. Like, I did not have any qualms about it. I felt like I had put enough time and effort into this relationship to validate it. And I was like, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready. I already put the deposits down. We're walking down that aisle. It's happening. And I feel comfortable with it. And, the wedding day happened, whatever happened. And then just like after that, it felt like one thing after another, after another, after another. And then like that panic that I had gotten rid of 6 months ago, like crept back into my life. And I was like, oh no. So this isn't just like a whim. Like I just had randomly panic. It was truly something that was going on in my life. And my body was literally having conversations with me and saying, hey, what's going on? Something is off in your life that you need to look inward at and you need to start fixing. So I wish it didn't happen that way, because panic disorder is like so scary and you feel like your world is crumbling around you.
Yeah.
But I am really thankful because like I truly feel like your body communicates the needs before your brain is able to like fully comprehend what's going on.
Right. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh man. How long was the marriage, if you don't mind sharing?
So we had separated.
Okay.
But filing for divorce and like going through divorce is a long process. Like it's not, you can't just like walk down to the courthouse and be like, hey, I want a divorce. There is so much paperwork that you have to fill out. And mine was I will say mine was very, very easy. We did not own a home together. There wasn't assets that we needed to split up. There wasn't children involved.
Right.
No. So it was, if you're going to do it that way, we ended up doing it pretty easily. It's funny. My friend group that I had always had, but I had really built up after everything had happened. They're a little bit older than me, and 3 of them had gone through divorces. And so one of them, shout out to Rachel, amazing, sat me down, bought me dinner, and she pulled her divorce paperwork and sat next to me, and I had my divorce paperwork, and we went page by page, and she helped me like fill it out on my own, and so I could file it on my own without attorneys or anything like that. So it was honestly girls helping girls. It's so much paperwork, and I didn't even have to split anything or do any money trade, like nothing. And it is so much paperwork, and it takes a lot of time. Like a court processor, I had to go into court and provide the paperwork and then pay for the divorce, which is so crazy. You have to pay for a marriage license and you have to pay for a divorce, even though like you're not even paying attorneys or anything like that. You have to pay for a divorce.
Is it expensive?
I think it was like $350. I can't remember. It wasn't like astronomical, but it also is like, I had to pay for this marriage license. Now you're taking money for me to get divorced again. Yeah.
It'd be free, right?
Yeah. So I had to go into court, submit the papers, and then I can't remember what they did, but it has to go to a judge, and then a court processor called me like December of 2022. And she was like, hey, this is probably going to be about 3 weeks before we get all it done. But then she had called me in the next week and sent me an email. Literally, I got an email. It was like, you are divorced. And I was like, in an email? Okay, I guess I'm divorced. But yeah, it was through an email, and it was worded to myself and him, and that's the way it went. Isn't that wild?
That is wild. And then that's just it.
I know. And then I'm like, oh, I'm officially divorced. Huh. It's like, it's anticlimactic, really. You're like, I got an email in my Gmail in the middle of December on a Friday, and it was like, you're divorced, FYI. And I was like, do I cry? Do I celebrate? Right. And then I literally went back to work, and it was like, shut everything off again. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's one thing I will say I was very, very good at. If you asked anyone I was working with, like 3 people knew. But everyone else was like, what? That all was going on, and there was nothing, no one could tell anything was going on. Like I think it was a huge survival mechanism. I compartmentalized it, every single thing. Like I would take one thing at a time, and I did my best to not perseverate on it. And I would tackle it and like put it in a box and like shove it away and then get to the next thing. Now I am a chaotic mess because I think I spent so much energy like compartmentalizing things and like moving through things. So like I didn't even like have time to have emotions about things because I was just like, okay, I have to do this because this is what's next and this is what's next. And now I just feel like a chaotic emotional mess sometimes because I'm like, I don't get it. I was so strong during this time. I was able to do this, 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 and this. And I can't even like process one thing at a time now without like having big emotions about everything.
But that's okay. I feel like
super. It's totally okay. It was a time in my life where that was like the way I was going to survive. And so I will say that I always would listen to like podcasts and people would be like, talking about all the things that was happening to them, and they were like, I went on autopilot, and I was like, that's literally never going to be me because I have so many emotions I need to express them all the time. But like it truly was, I was on autopilot and just like tackling one thing at a time. And I didn't even have time, like when I removed all the photos, I didn't even have time to even care. Like I was like, people are going to say things. People are always going to say things. They're always going to have their opinions. Let them talk. I really don't care. Like I have so many other things I have to worry about. Like people's opinions right now, they don't matter. They really don't matter.
No, and that's true because I'm people and I'm nosy. I'm like, I remember, and it wasn't for me. It wasn't even like oh my God, I can't believe. It was more of like what happened? Like, like
truly.
Like what happened? Like you're just like, are they together? Like I'm like, I don't need to know. I'm like, just are you together or no?
Yes. And I think I totally understand people's like interest in that. Like I will respect him forever. I'll respect his family. There's like there was so much love there for so long that like I will never to anybody like speak an ill word if I don't necessarily have to, just because it's like I would expect the same back and forth. Like we both know what happened and we both know like how much time and effort we put into the relationship. I'm not going to disparage it now because it's like, what's the point? Like I'm very happy and my split pace that I'm with and the person I'm with is amazing and respectful and sweet and kind and supports me. So it's like, I'm not going to dig up old stuff just to like, so we can fight. I've had enough. Okay. I don't need to do that anymore. I think I'm okay with where I'm at right now.
No, I agree. I agree 100%. I think, I will say, so I have another friend who she's like our age and she just got divorced last year. And I'm just like, as someone who I've talked about on this podcast, like, I don't know if I want to get married. I don't know if I want to have kids. Like, and I'm totally okay with that. I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. But I feel like even though a lot of the societal norms have changed and a lot of women are like, I'm going to do what I want, marriage is still so just like the one thing that's like, it's what you do. Or like people deep down really do want marriage or a partner, which is totally fine. And so divorce is like not something that you think about at this age, like, or like at the wedding, like, you know what I mean? And like, I have a dark sense of humor. So I've been at weddings and I'm like, can't wait for the divorce party in like 20 years. But like,
how about 6 months?
right. It's like, but like, damn, like you don't really think like, I don't know. So I'm curious what that's looked like in your friend circle. I'm sure everyone was super supportive when you went through it, or if anyone wasn't supportive, but just like, do you ever think about, and this sounds bad, and I mean this all with all due respect, but do you ever think about people maybe looking at you being like, oh, we don't want to end up like Natalie, or like, you know what I mean?
Oh, I think everyone thought that for a long time and they just didn't want to say anything to me.
Right.
Like, and I totally respect people who feel that way. Like, I don't want to end up like that because it's emotionally like one of the most difficult things I will probably ever go through.
Yeah.
It's really shaped me as a person, honestly, though. Like I feel like I cared about a lot of different things before I was married. I had a lot of different friendships that were not supportive and they weren't building me up to be a whole person. It was kind of just like pieces of a person. And I was very insecure, very hateful. Don't get me wrong. I still got it in me. Don't worry. But like really just like didn't value friendships, didn't value relationships because I just felt like I was on this one track. Like to be honest, when we got engaged, like I was like, yeah, this is the next steps. But I never had like, I really didn't have ever like a burning desire to be married. I was just, again, thought it's like the next step, the next logical step. Everybody else around us was doing it. And so we're like, okay, like, I think this is what you're due. I have a completely different outlook on it now. I say all the time, like, I'll probably get pregnant before I get married again. Not because I don't want to get married to the person that I'm with, because I think he's wonderful and fabulous and amazing. But I say this to my friends that I am really close with. I want to be really loved at my wedding. And I don't feel like at my previous wedding, I was loved. I feel like a lot of people were there because they felt they had to be there. And I want my wedding, if I have another one, so small and so intimate that everybody there is so happy for me that I won't ever have to sit at some point in my wedding and question if people are happy that for me to be there. And it was like, my friends were like so upset when I said that. They're like, we do love you and we loved you so much. And we would be there with you no matter what. It's like, I know that, but I want my people there to be like over the moon for me. Like, we're so excited for her. And I will never put myself in a situation again that I don't feel fully loved and respected in a big stage like that. Like, I'd much rather have a kid and then go down to the courtroom house and have like a little ring bearer with me or a flower girl and just like do it that way, because first of all, they're expensive. Second of all, it's a lot of attention. Third of all, it's like a lot of pressure, not only for the bride and groom, but a lot of pressure for bridesmaids and family. And there's like a lot of societal pressure that comes with that. And I was fully bought into all of that. Like, this is what my bachelorette should look like. This is what my bridesmaid should look like. This is what my flowers are going to look like. And I'm going to kill somebody if they don't look this way. Like, fully bought into that. And I would listen to people be like, just enjoy yourself. Like, no one's going to look at the linens. No one cares. And I was like, everyone cares. Everyone cares about the linen. Everyone cares about the forks. Like, they don't. They really don't. And I just like wish more brides could like see that, because no one cares. You have alcohol at your wedding and there's not 300 kids running around screaming. People are going to have fun. They're going to have fun.
Yep.
So I am like, I would love to get married again, but not because of what it signifies, just because it's more of just a partnership and like kind of like doing vows to each other that we're going to respect and love each other instead of this like big celebration. Like, I'd much rather just do something intimate and like do the vows and like do the financial stuff. Never.
Never. Right.
Because marriage is such a financial decision that people don't like. When I was filling out all that paperwork, none of it is about your vows. Let me tell you right now, none of that divorce paperwork cares about what you said on your vows. They're not going to say, hey, you said A, B, C, D in your vows. Look what you're doing now. It says, how much money do you have in the bank? How much money are you going to split between the two of you? Do you have children? What is your parenting plan going to look like? They don't care that you said, I'll love you forever.
They don't care about that that you're the Pam to my Jim. Don't care.
They don't care.
Don't care.
They don't care. They care about the money and how you're going to split this financially, so this doesn't become a big thing and bring it to the courts. So that's just my now view on it. I just want something small, and I want everyone there to love me and love my partner equally, and just like have a really beautiful time in a small setting. Not a lot of people. I don't want bridesmaids. I love my friends. I said all of my friends can wear black.
Love
my wedding. But like, I want to get ready with them, like do all those fun things, because like the wedding day is going to be fun. Like, I want them to be there. I want my sister to be there and like my nieces. But I don't need people standing up there with me. Because I don't need a matron of honor. Like,
no. And listen, I feel like growing up, I don't know if it's because, so my parents got married, just the two of them, like in their living room, like 35 years ago. That's like what they did. And I think, my mom, bless her sweet spirit, and if you've been around my mom and heard her talk about weddings, it is like this grand Cirque du Soleil like event that she wants for me. And I love that she wants that for me. And I thought I wanted that forever. I was like, I want 600 guests and 12 bridesmaids and then the trip and the this and all the groomsmen and the flower girls and the candles and the people hanging from the ceiling and the... First of all, I don't even know 600 people. I don't even know 100 people that I would want there. I don't even know 50. Like that I personally want there.
No.
So I'm with you. Like, these days, I'm like, if I do decide to get married, I'm bougie, so I want to keep that. I want a bougie AF wedding.
Yeah.
Fancy, but small. 40 guests, 30 guests, black tie affair, fancy, but small. Good food, love, a lot of love. Not that big weddings, there's no love, of course, but it's like, I hear what you're saying of like, sometimes it's just, you're just doing what's next in the process. Like the big wedding, we got to do the wedding. We got to do the...
And walking up to a table and introducing yourself, like, hi, I'm Natalie. was one thing that I was very staunch on. Like, I don't want to walk up to the table and be like, have to introduce myself to people because, like, this is my wedding day. I don't want random people there. And it always happens. The mom has the second 21st removed cousins that need to be there. And it's like, no big deal. But it was very like, I feel like I folded on too many things. Like, I'm a very strong person, but like I folded on because I just didn't want the smoke. Like, I didn't want it. So I just continued to fold. So that's why I'm like, no one is going to divert me away from what I want.
I never thought about that. Like, introducing yourself to people at your own wedding. Mm-hmm. That is insane. Because, okay, maybe this is me being too hyper independent because I only think about me. I'm like, well, me and my family. I guess if I marry someone, they will also have family.
Yeah.
So,
totally. You know. You might, but like also, if they're that close to you, you should have probably already met the people that are going to be. That's the kind of small I want. Like,
same.
If there's aunts and uncles that are coming, like, I want to meet them before the wedding day. If they're that important to you and spend that much time with you, like, yes. I want to meet them before we get married. I want to make sure that we have a good relationship and I've met all the important people in your life and like established myself in your life before we jump into marriage.
Yeah,
definitely taking notes going forward.
Yeah, I'm also taking notes. I'm like, shoot, that's true. Like, if you know, I don't get to meet your great grandma Junebug, then
that you love so much and you talk about all the time. Why haven't I met Junebug? What's going on here? Does she need a $50 plate at this wedding? Or can I go visit her after in my wedding? Like, you know, there's just things that like everything adds up. Everything's expensive and everything like needs to have a purpose if it's gonna be there.
Money. Speaking of money and really gifts was kind of my first thought.
Yes.
How do you, what's it look like?
Just be very blanketly honest. Like, really was kind of split and go. Like, really, there wasn't anything that we had that was so protective and, you know, that I really have no idea like how we split it up. He might have a bunch of things. I know I have a bunch of things.
It's like even marriage aside, it's like a normal breakup. If you live together, right? Like, who takes the couch? Who takes the bookshelf? Who, you know, it's probably.
Yeah, no. And there was some dividing and conquering, and that stuff is so uncomfortable because it's like, do you want the plates or can I take the plates? But yeah, it wasn't as messy as it could have been. I will say that. I will say that. Like, even messy breakups can get like really ugly. Have you ever seen that meme where it was like the divorce and it was a couple that split up their Beanie Babies? That, oh my God, look it up. They had like this prized possession of Beanie Babies and they're literally in the court being like, okay, I'll take this one. Okay, I'll take this one. That flashed before my mind when I was like, we have to split up our stuff. Like, thank God we don't have a wide variety of Beanie Babies that we need to like pick between each one of us. No, it was very like, you take this, I'll take this. And we kind of like split and went our separate ways on that one. But yeah, the wedding was very expensive and there's lots of payment plans that we were on to get everything paid for. But I don't know. I didn't even, again, I was in a one-track mind. Like, those types of things like really didn't pop up in my head. Like, nothing was going to equal like my happiness and my sanity at that point. So I pretty much was just like, whatever it takes. We just have to figure this out because like we keep trying and something is just like not clicking.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. Well, okay, so you get divorced. It sounds like it wasn't super messy. Could have been messier. We've seen messier. We've heard messier from people. Yeah, which is good. That's really good. Like, that's a blessing in disguise. Like, that it was good, amicable. After, I know you have a boyfriend now, but when you were dating and before you met him, which, by the way, I want to know how you guys met. He looks familiar, by the way. I'm like, he looks familiar, and I don't know where from.
Was it we came to one of your classes together?
No. Yes, okay. I remember that. Yeah. Before that, like when you were started posting photos with him, because I remember being like, "Oh, I think Natalie's got a new man." Like, who's this man? And I was like, "He looks familiar." So anyway, but when you were dating, how did you talk about, did you tell guys that you were divorced, or like what was that like? Were guys weird about it? Were they cool with it?
It was experimental. Like it truly was experimental. Like I say now, like I almost use it as like an introduction. Like I'm Natalie, I'm divorced. Like I am so not afraid to talk about it. And when I first went into dating, I was like, no one needs to know my business.
Right.
I'm getting divorced. I was separated. I wasn't officially divorced when I first started dating. Everyone does it. There's literally no shame in that.
No.
And the first people that I was talking to, I didn't say anything because I was very protective over it. I was like, no one needs to know my business until it's like appropriate. But I also like people, one guy like went through my Instagram and was like, hey, you're tagged in some photos. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm separated, like very honest, and a lot of guys were super cool. Like, cool. Thanks for letting me know, like just making sure that you weren't a married woman on these dating apps, which is totally fair. I would do the exact same thing. Right. Some guys were like, I had one guy, I don't know if something was going on with him. He wanted to know too much. Like he asked me to give extreme detail of my wedding day. And he knew, we were talking about like separation. He was like asking specific details of like how you get divorced and like separated. I was like, sir, this is like a really traumatic time in my life. Could you like
not right now. Right.
Not right now. Like he was a little bit too into knowing a lot of details about my wedding day that I was like, are you genuinely interested, or is there like something going on up here?
The wedding day kind of throws me, like you're so interested in the wedding day. Like,
yeah.
And also even the divorce process, it's like, we don't know each other, sir. Like, relax.
Google it. Like, I don't need to be your director here. Like, I'm not gonna show you the way. So like weird things like that. But other than that, like when I met Ryan and I met on Hinge, and I had recently got my feelings hurt on Bumble by somebody. Like feelings hurt, doubly, triply,
what
all
happened?
The hurts. It was just like I was with someone for so long, you just kind of fall back into those same patterns with somebody. And I had just done that with somebody that I barely knew. It was such a bad idea. Yeah. And like, it just went too fast. And I was just acting like I previously did, which is not how, like literally my therapist was like, what are you doing? Like, you don't even know this person like that well at all. And I was like, you're right. I'm acting crazy. But so I went on Hinge because I was like, I'm never going back on Bumble ever again. And randomly, I was literally sitting at my cycle studio playlisting, like on it, like half playlisting, half just swiping on Hinge. And he came, so he was in Seattle for the summer. He was working as like a traveling sales director for the company that he works for. And he was in Seattle for 10 weeks or something like that. And he's going to hate me for saying this. I thought his profile was like a joke. Like I thought he was like trying to be funny. So many people have heard this story. They're like, we've heard it enough. But he said, you know, I really love Machine Gun Kelly, and like Well Done Steaks are actually really good. So I was like, this guy gets it. Like he is with the social jokes, like he's with it. And I was like and I messaged him because I was like, this guy is literally so funny. And I said, do you want to drink each other's blood like Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly? And he was like, hello, question mark, like nice to meet you, psychopath. And I was like, don't you want to be like, I was literally just making fun of Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox, but he didn't pick up that he was, he says all the time, he was like, I was just so excited that this like hot girl was messaging me on Hinge that I was like, I was gonna go with anything that was going on. But I didn't figure out, we all could together did not figure out that I was joking until our third date, when he legitimately was talking about going to a Machine Gun Kelly concert. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, you know, like I love Machine Gun Kelly. I was like, the gig is up. Like, we don't have to joke about this anymore. And he was like, no, I actually have gone to every single Machine Gun Kelly concert that I could go to.
Oh, you're a real fan. You're a stan.
A real fan. And I was like, oh. God, I've said so many mean things, but it just ended up, it was really, really funny. And it just went perfectly from there. But yeah, so we just met on Hinge. He was actually living in Florida when we first met because he was only in Seattle for like 10 weeks or so. And he got promoted and he got moved to Arizona. And I was like, oh, I can work with Arizona. Florida, I cannot.
Yeah, same.
I can't work with that. But he got moved to Arizona and then we did long distance for 10 months. 10 months. Yeah. So we did, and like flights to Phoenix are like $89 sometimes. So we really just like did back and forth. I think we did it like every 2 weeks.
Wow.
He would come to Seattle and or I would go to Scottsdale, just back and forth every 2 weeks. And then like working for a school district, I had some like long breaks off. So I got to like
True.
come and stay for long periods of time, or like he could come and stay with me and like work from home. So that was really, really great. And then in April, I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. And he was like, okay, well, I think I need to stay in Scottsdale for a little bit. And I was like, okay, I think I'm going to come there. I think I need to like leave the Pacific Northwest for a little bit. Like there's a lot of trauma in this state that I think, and like I did not leave my area of Seattle since 2016. I never moved out of that little space. Yep. I never moved out of there. I moved just like literally blocks away from my like original place that I lived with Gabby, like on a road. Gabby and I lived together for way too long, forever. And like, we really like moved around that little spot in Seattle. And I was like, I'm either going to like settle down here or I'm going to like take an adventure. And I was like, I got to get out of here. And so I took an adventure and came to Scottsdale. It's a little wild here, especially working for schools. It's very different. It's been a huge learning curve and like I'm taking it one day at a time, but like I feel like there's a lot of opportunity here because there is so much like growth that needs to happen here that I feel like I'm making a bigger impact. You know what I mean? Like I'm making a bigger impact because I'm putting more effort into, whereas like Washington, it's like a very progressive and things are already moving and grooving and they're like, you're literally old news, Natalie, like we don't need you. But like Arizona has like a lot of growth to make, and there's just like, I've met like a lot of amazing people that are very active and wanting to make change. So that's been really awesome.
Well, I think that's great. And I think, again, I'm not a kid and nor do I have kids in this school system here, but for lack of better words, I've heard it's rough. So on all levels. So I do think it makes a difference for people like you being teachers and representation for those kids and a safe space for those kids who maybe haven't ever had a teacher like you or with thoughts like you or views like you. So I do think you will be making a difference in some kids' lives, which I think is so important because
I really have like Kool-Aid man through schools though. I'm like, no, we're not doing it this way. Move it now. We're changing everything. And that's been really hard because like, again, I'm trying to make friends, but I'm over here like busting down doors being like, we're changing this. This all needs to change yesterday. So
yeah. Well, good for you. That's great.
Yeah. But yeah, so we've been here ever since. And he found out naturally that I was divorced. Like it was just like came up on our first date. And he was one of the experiments like of me like letting people know that I was or wasn't. And it like naturally came up in conversation. I don't remember exactly what it was. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting divorced. And like hesitant first and then was like, okay, cool. No big deal. Like really, really, really cool about it. And I was like, oh, this guy's so awesome. Like he's not even like fazed by it at all. And it rarely comes up. It's just interesting. It rarely comes up anymore. It's like, obviously when I was going through, like I wasn't officially divorced when we first started dating. So there was like, I had to go to the court and I had to fill out all this paperwork and there's drama because of this and there's signatures and serving papers. And so that kind of stuff. I think it was very beneficial that we actually weren't together 24/7. I think I had a lot of processing that I needed to do independently, like without someone there supporting me through it because I needed to like figure it out on my own. So having the space was actually pretty amazing. It sucked. It was horrible. Like I missed him all the time, but like I think that I also needed that independence during that time to like continue to process everything that was going on.
Yeah. When you were on Hinge during your divorce, were you looking for a relationship or just looking for like something fun or not
I
serious
see.
or
I had never, well, like, I met my ex-husband in 2016, like, and we
yeah.
were on and off in college sometimes, like a typical college couple. Like, we broke up and then we'll get back together. So I never really dated, like,
Mm,
ever. And dating is so, I don't know. It's, and again, I was 28, 29. What did I 29 when I started dating. And so like I was also getting some other guys that were actually divorced too. And so it was just an interesting mix of kids because I was like I didn't know how to set my age state, so I was having like 19-year-olds in my DMs and I was like,
oh,
how do I get this 19-year-old like out of my DM? I didn't know how to change the age range that was on there, so I was like truly getting like 41-year-olds that are like with 3 kids, and then I would have like Max who's 19 and he was like, you trying to hang out? And no sir, I'm not. You're
no,
an infant, you
a
can't even
baby.
drink yet. Yeah. So
Mm-mm.
I got a very interesting mix of people in there, and like figuring out like who actually wants to date and who actually wants to just like, hook up was interesting. And that was just not my thing. Like
Mhm.
I have to, like, I cannot do any of that. So it was just like trying to read people and try to understand like dating cues when I
Yeah.
hadn't literally ever truly done it, because I don't count dating in your college years like actually dating, because you don't have your profession, you don't have like interpersonal skills yet because you're
Right.
like just throwing your emotions around all the time. So it was like very odd. It was just odd to
Hmm.
try and hold conversations with interesting men.
Yeah, it sucks. Dating sucks, I will tell you. But I
Hmm.
will say, I am not on the apps right now. And I always do this where I delete them and then I get this little itch and I'm like, well, maybe, the guys are different and it's the same guys. Or I'm like, maybe there's a couple new, maybe, a lot of people are moving to Phoenix. Maybe there's new, and it's
Uh-huh.
not. And I'm like, this sucks. But your story does give me a smidget of hope about the apps.
Yeah,
A
I
smidge.
know.
Um, but not enough yet, but a smidge.
Yeah, I feel like I genuinely got so lucky with him because he was a person not only was like willing to keep up the conversation with me and not be like, so you're trying to hang out, like he genuinely had a lot of questions about like who I was and my family life, but also shared equal values that I did, which
Mhm.
what, like, never even process like, does this person have the same values as I do? Like starting to date somebody in college, like, do you even know what your values are? Like those
Right.
types of conversations are so important, of like, do I want to continue to work after we have children? Do you
Mm.
want me to work after you have children? What type of life would you like to live? Would you like, it's so important. Like, do you want to live in the suburbs? Is that going
Yeah.
to make your life absolutely out of your mind miserable? Or do you want to be close to the city? Like, those types of things seem so trivial when you're in your young 20s, but they're
Right.
so important because everyone grows up, gets their own kids, has their own family, and you really only have each other. At
Hmm.
some points, like you do have your friends, but like that is your person, that is your partner, that is the person
Yeah.
you will talk to day in and day out. And if you don't, if one of the person is miserable all the time because of where they're living or because of the kids or not equal shares of funds or something like that, then it's like full stop. You can't, like, cannot do that anymore because you're just going to be miserable all the time.
No, that is so true. And I feel like maybe it's part of maturing or getting older, but those are things you think about. And going into dating, those are things, you have to kind of think about. Unless depending on your dating goals, but like if you're looking for a partner, it's like you do have to like ask those things. Okay, question for you, because
Hmm.
I'm guilty of going on Hinge dates. And the first date, I'm like, hell no. Be honest. After your
Uh-huh.
first date, were you like, oh my God, this is he's the one? Or like, how did you feel like after the first date?
I just was such in a spot of like, I'm having so much fun with this person and like
Okay.
he's so kind and so sweet. I really was not in a stage where I was fully ready to like commit to anybody, because I was just like, I'm just out here trying to date right now and like understand what it feels like to date people again. But his consistency and like his communication piece and the way that he like genuinely listened and valued like knowing about my family, like small little things like remembering my brother's names and like asking how they were, and like remembering my niece's name and be like, when is the next time you get to see your niece? Like those little things like grew over time and just showed me like, oh my God, this person like really, really cares about me. And he was just so consistent. And like, I was a person that thrived in chaos for such a long time. So this person coming in and being consistent and being kind and like really showing that they cared about me, I was like, first of all, back up. Get away from me. Like, what are you talking? You don't care about my niece. You don't actually care about that. But he did. And so it like took some growth in me to be like, this is what it feels like to be loved. And this is what it feels like to have like consistency in your life. And this is what it should feel like. Like you should feel comfortable going home every day. You should feel this space around you being relaxed. So going into it, I was like, just trying to like not get my feelings hurt again. Like I just want to find a nice person. So like after our first date, I also knew he lived in Florida. So I was like, great vacation spot. So maybe I can go visit Florida a few times. But then when he moved to Phoenix, I was like, oh, I can definitely like make this work. And it also, again, gave me some time to be independent and alone because I had not been alone since 2016. So I got like my own apartment. I lived by myself with Opie, and I just did what I wanted day in and day out and kind of just like built my life only surrounding me, which I had never done before, which I think was very important for my own growth.
Oh yeah, so important.
It's having a true identity of self was something that I didn't think about until I was alone. Until I got to like sit with my own self and be like, it's 7:30. Like the small things, like I don't want to make dinner. I'm going to have girl dinner and it's not going to matter. And I'm not going to worry about it for the next day. And like truly doing things that I wanted to do all the time and not have to worry about like, is this person going to wake up for work? Do they have their lunch pack? Like all of these things that I like felt for so long that I just like had to sit with myself, and it was terrifying, but great.
Yeah. I'm really glad you got to do that because I mean, everyone's different, but it's like, it'd be really hard to end one thing that you were in so long and just jump into something new. And it's like, you still didn't get that time alone to really, understand what you want and you like and what you value.
Yeah. It worked out really, really well in the end, but it definitely was difficult all at the same time.
Yeah, I will say, I guess, do you have any thoughts or like final thoughts or words for people maybe who are young and thinking of going through a divorce? Because again, you think divorce and it's like old people or older, but like you don't think 20s and 30s. So like anything on like, I don't want to say normalizing divorce per se, but like normalizing the conversation around it, because sometimes things literally just don't work out and it's okay.
I talked to my best friend about this literally the other day. I hear this all the time, and I heard this a lot, and I held on to this sentiment for so long, and it was not helpful. People say like marriage is hard. Marriage is supposed to be difficult. It's not supposed to be a walk in the park. And so I held on to that thinking, oh, everyone else goes through things like this. Marriage is supposed to be hard. But there's a difference between like marriage being hard and marriage having hard times in your marriage. Like if every single day I'm having anxiety, I'm fighting off panic attacks, there's issues in the home, I don't feel comfortable going home, that's saying this isn't working. And both people have stopped working together to make this work. You can have hard times in your marriage where you hate the person because they're driving you insane, but like of course, you are in love with the person and you actively want to you have like small increments of time that are really, really difficult.
Sure.
And so I just listened to another podcaster say it like, yeah, I went through the most difficult time and I did all this with my husband and I ended up getting back with him. And I was just like, that's amazing for you. But I hate that that's out there because I don't want people to feel like they have to be stuck in something forever, because I think that's a really old mentality of like, you have to stay in here forever, even though you are actually miserable. And the person that you're with might not actually see that they're miserable, but they are. And you guys are both just sitting in something that's really, really toxic, but you've become comfortable in it. And it's like sticking in a marriage when like your kids can see that you literally hate each other. It is worse for the kids to see you both suffer day in and day out. I don't have children, but that's something that like I will never like not think about when it comes to divorce. I would much rather see a couple separate and happy with partners that make them happy so they are good to come home to day in day out than sticking together, because that's just not what works for anybody. Because why stick in something that you know that you're going to be unhappy with for the rest of your life? This is the only one that you get. Like, that's what I would say to myself all the time. You only have one of these. And if you continue to the way that you're continuing and you feel this scared and this panicky all the time, you're not going to get out of it. And you're just going to make yourself and your partner miserable because you are just going to continue to produce negativity all the time.
So true. Only have one life. It is scary. And you have one life. Spend it right.
Yes. Do it with people that you love and like you want to spend time with. Like, I'm not saying give up on every relationship that you come in contact with, because obviously that is not what I do or did. But also I think it's really important to listen to your body. If you have anxiety all the time, you're really stuck, you feel uncomfortable in spaces, you have anxiety before you go out with people and you're with the couple, there's like a lot of things that say that your body talks to you and is like, hey, something's up that you're not listening to. I think listen to the way you feel while you're around your partner, and not a shake, nothing to your partner, but like you need to listen to yourself. Like they could be doing what they've always done, but you are feeling a different type of way about them and you need to listen to that.
Amen.
Who would have thought the girl chugging sidewalk slammers multiple times a week just, had to go through some trauma and go through a lot of therapy to get out on the
other. That's all it takes. Just a little trauma and therapy.
Yes, a little trauma and therapy. A lot of people leaving your life at very important times and being like, okay, I need to find the core people in my life that like really are like, I clung on to those core people for so long. And like my circle is very, very small now, but I'm very happy about it. Like I am very happy about the people that I directly communicate with day in and day out, because I'm not afraid these people are going to be mad at me. I'm not afraid they're going to leave me on a whim or during important times. I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid of them. And that's a really weird thing to say about people that you used to be friends with, but I'm not afraid of them. Like I'm fully confident that like I can do something and I can genuinely mess up and I can have honest conversations with these people and then be like, yeah, no, we're good. I just really didn't like A, B, C, or D. So yeah, it's taken a lot of people leaving, lots of trauma, but she's whole now.
She's whole now. I was gonna say, well, you look great.
You.
Yeah, you like look happy and like you have like a glow. So you do.
I've heard that a bunch. A lot of people have said that. Like just the way I hold myself is a lot different. It's not like all the time, like ready to break down all the time. But yeah, I will say, the people that like truly got me through it that didn't know were like all of my clients at my cycle bar I used to work at. I did all of the 6 a.m.s and 3 times a week. Having that to go to and like be on forced me out of my head for a little bit. And like they have no idea, but like, I told them before I left, like, you guys don't know, but you literally saved my life. But it truly like having purpose and like having to go place and show up for somebody else and like truly like put on a show for them saved my life in so many ways that I don't think they know, because like it gave me purpose. It gave me time to smile, focus on trap music off SoundCloud, like just focus on anything else that wasn't like my own life. And like I knew that they were going to show up every 6 a.m. So I was like, if their asses are showing up, I'm showing up. So let's keep it consistent here. So that's why I just value like continuing staying in the fitness community, because like those people showing up for me and I show up for them. So it just like creates a nice little bond. You know,
I
you
do.
Get it.
I do. I get it a little too well. Some days I'm like, what am I doing? Thanks for tuning into Swipe Society. Please rate us and leave us a 5-star review on Spotify and anywhere else you listen to this podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. If you're not already, please give us a follow on Instagram at Swipe Society Pod and send all questions and inquiries to hello@swipesocietypod.com. Don't forget, we drop new episodes every Wednesday. Chat soon!